All right, we are live. Hello, hello.
Hey,
Hey, y'all. Hey, come on in the room. Make yourself comfortable. Let me get this shared. Just a second. Hey,
let me turn that down so it ain't sounding crazy.
right, exactly.
You ever been on with somebody to get a bunch of feedback?
Like,
Turn your volume down.
right. Okay, I think I just shared it right. Okay, all right. Y'all come on in. Come on in here for this here conversation. I don't know. I'm just so excited about this talk tonight. Y'all just don't understand. Make yourself comfortable. And when you get in, let us know that you're here so that we can greet
Yeah.
you, say welcome. Thank you for watching. All of that good stuff. Yes.
Let me see if
So
I
I'll
can
give one
do it this
more
way.
minute. Give it one more minute and then we'll get started because I want
One more minute.
all
One,
this hour.
and that's it.
Right. That's it. That's
If
all.
you not here for the 1 hour, you sure.
Exactly.
You're
Exactly.
gonna miss the whole conversation.
So the leak life, okay, hey. Let's see. The leak life says, hey, Athena,
Hey, that's
hey.
my that's my nephew.
Okay, hey. Thank you for tuning in.
Oh, he on YouTube. Okay. I forgot. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot people can comment on YouTube.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay.
See, oh, I love it. I love it.
This is soda tonight.
Uh-huh. That's all right. It's your
This
business.
time.
Tabitha Brown say that's your business. That's all right. You can drink what you want because it's your business. All right, so 1 minute has passed, and we are going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Relationship Talks. I am your host, Siobhan Carter, the You Relationship Coach. And what that means is I am passionate about all things concerning relationships, especially the relationship that you have with yourself. And tonight, I have the pleasure of being joined once again by my sister, who is no stranger to this platform. She has been on for the fourth time now, so she gonna make herself comfortable, and we're gonna have a good conversation. So, Miss Khea Forte, welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey.
Introduce yourself to the people, to those who don't know who you are. What would you like them to know about you?
In case you've been sleeping under a rock, my name is Kia. I'm a part-time blogger. I'm a stand-up comedian. I host or used to host a radio show called The Sidebar Show. I'll be back to that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I talk a lot on Facebook, Instagram. I am a friend to Walking in Wholeness. Hey.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's it. I go by Miss Key in most places, but you can call me whatever you want.
I know that's right. So, Miss Kia, yes. So, as we are having this conversation tonight, feel free to drop your questions, share your comments. We want this to be an interactive discussion. So, if you saw in the post, you know that we are talking about polyamory tonight. So, we are going there. Now, in one of the previous shows, Kia shared that she was a lived a poly lifestyle, and so I was very intrigued by that because I've heard of people living that lifestyle, but I'm just not familiar with it. And so I wanted us to have this conversation,
Mhm.
grown folks conversation. No,
Right.
we don't need your little judging. Go on, tune off because this ain't for you.
They can judge.
Right, with your judging eyes, because I just want us to be open and have a conversation about it. And if you have questions about the lifestyle, just ask. So I just want this to be an enlightening conversation. It doesn't mean that we are trying to promote it. If this ain't your
Right.
thing, you don't have to, but we're going to talk about it, and it'll probably
Absolutely.
help you with some of the questions that you have. So we're going to go there. So first of all,
Right.
let's start from the beginning. What
Yeah.
is polyamory and how is it different from polygamy?
Okay. So polyamory, the best way, the textbook definition for polyamory is consensual, ethical, and responsible non-monogamy. So that's the textbook.
Wait, say that again. Second. Okay.
consensual,
sensual,
ethical,
ethical,
and responsible
responsible,
non-monogamy.
non-monogamy. Got it. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially having more than one romantic partner, committed romantic partners.
Okay.
And polygamy, same thing, but polygamy is being married, having more than one spouse,
Okay.
which we all know polygamy is illegal.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the
Okay.
biggest difference is the marriage piece.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned something in there when you said committed. So what is the dynamics of a polyamorous relationship? How does it work?
I'm glad you asked. So, so a lot of times when people hear polyamory, they think open relationships.
Yeah.
And that's not synonymous. It's not the same thing. Because typically with open relationships, you have a couple who are committed to each other,
Mhm.
who essentially are practicing monogamy because they're committed to just each other, but they have consented to have outside sexual partners. And they could have sexual partners that they're just with this week, and there's some else. It's open, and if they typically have a don't ask, don't tell policy.
Mhm.
Whereas with polyamorous relationship, there's a commitment there. So it says, I'm in a relationship with you. I'm in a committed relationship with you,
Mhm.
and I have a responsibility to you. I'm also in a committed relationship with this person, and I have a responsibility to them. And both of these individuals know that I'm in a committed relationship with the both of them, and I don't have any other outside partners.
Got it. So you're in
Mhm.
a committed. So you, let's say you in the middle, and then you're in a committed relationship with two other people. What is it like? Is it hard to manage those relationships? Because one is a lot, Kia. Now, how are you gonna manage
It,
two of them?
I think, and this is just, these are all kids' opinions.
Okay.
These are kids' opinions.
Yeah.
Do not, listen, if y'all go out here and try to do things because the kids said something, that's on you. What
That's
you won't do is come for me. These are
yeah.
kids' opinions from
Okay.
what kid done knowed, okay?
Okay.
So I'll say this. I think it's as hard as you make it,
Okay.
because the foundation of any relationship, including polyamory, is communication,
Mhm.
honesty, open and honest communication, right?
Mhm.
So if you already know that this is what it is, you enter into it knowing what it is.
Okay.
So it's not any much more work than your typical monogamous relationship. Just
Okay.
like you have to work towards that monogamous relationship, you have to do the same. Just you do it with multiple people. But if all three parties are working, because it's not just one person, the person in the middle trying to doing all the work to make it work. It's all
Mhm.
three of us that are
Got
doing the work to make it work. So
okay.
if it's hard,
So
you're doing something wrong.
got you. So there, the three of you are working together to make the unit work.
Correct. And
Oh,
that's not to say it's going to be easy.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No relationship, every relationship has its ups, downs, ins and outs.
Mm-hmm.
Polyamory relationships are no different.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Okay. So okay. So we have the three people that are in a polyamorous relationship, right?
mhm.
Do all of them like are all of them in relationship to with each other, or is it just like how does that work? Everybody, you know.
So there is no one solid way to poly, right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
And I see this a lot. There's a lot of times there's couples, we looking for a girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody want to be with the both of y'all, but I
Right.
do. That's
Yeah.
another conversation. So there's no one way to poly, right?
Okay.
So what my poly relationship may look like over here, it may not look like that over there. So there are poly relationship where all three couples are in a relation. I mean, excuse me, all three individuals are in a relationship with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and they all relate
Got it. Uh-huh. Yep.
with each other.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then you have what we call parallel poly relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So that what that looks like is, and I'm gonna use you because I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are in a relationship with the same man, and but your relationship is that I may know you and I'm familiar with you. You know of me, and I know about you, but
Mm-hmm.
we have parallel relationships. Does that make sense?
Yep. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
then you have nesting partners where these two live together, but the other partner doesn't. You have it's so many different ways. There's
Mm-hmm.
no singular way to poly. The only you just you have some foundational principles, and you poly how you poly.
Got you. So it's really
Hmm.
about the communication and what works for that
Yes.
the
Yes.
couples that are, or the partners that are together. Okay.
Absolutely.
Got
Absolutely.
it. Okay.
Hmm.
How do you even engage in a polyamorous relationship? Let's say you are in a monogamous relationship, right? And maybe one person wants to entertain the polyamorous relationship and just kind of evolve in that way. Does it work like that, or like how does it get connected?
So what I see a lot is people hunting for their third, their
Mm,
another partner, and to me that's not organic. And I don't
okay.
really subscribe to that.
Okay.
To answer your question was, if it were me and I was in a monogamous relationship and we say, I I think you first have to figure out the foundation of your monogamous relationship, right? Are
Mm-hmm.
y'all solid? Are
Mm,
y'all secure? Because if you're not solid and you're not secure and y'all are having problems, you just finna bring a third person into your mess.
right.
And
Right.
bringing a third person into your mess don't fix no relationship. It's
Right.
not gonna fix it.
Yeah.
So you have to have some serious conversations first. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to understand what your goals are. What's your intentions here? What do we really want? Am I comfortable with this? Are you? There has to be some serious conversation here, and you can't just enter into it lightly, if you
Right.
ask me.
Right. Yeah. I
Because
can.
what's going to happen is you're going to end up with somebody so pressed, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to end up with somebody that you're not compatible with, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to end up unhappy.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a lot of communication, making sure that your foundation is solid before even
Hmm.
bringing someone into the fold.
Hmm.
So is it a space where you are in a network of people who have a similar lifestyle and you just start to relate and just talk
Can
and
be.
okay.
You can, because I've discovered over the past couple, there's plenty, there's Facebook groups for everything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And all Facebook groups are not created equal.
Right. I'm sure.
And this is, look at my face. This is your warning. This is your warning label before you enter into any Facebook group, because it's, sweet girl, it's a lot.
I
Most time I just go in there, roll my eyes, and get back out because
yeah.
I can't deal. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of Facebook groups. There's a lot of social groups. There's a lot of groups that have, because it's not a lot of black people. Actually, let me rephrase it, because I don't want to say there are a lot of black people that practice polyamory,
Okay.
different forms of polyamory, but you don't, to you out there.
Right.
But I found like the app Meetup. There's
Mhm.
a couple of groups that get together. They do activities and things like that,
Mhm.
just so you can be around like-minded people and have support with people who live the same way you do or subscribe to the same thing you subscribe to. So
Mhm.
it's out there. You just got to go look for it. And I believe, because see, and I believe in developing things organically, right?
Right. Mhm.
And that's why I don't really get into people who, they, like, when I say they're hunting, it's
Mhm.
like, you want to be our girlfriend? You trying to be our third? Like, can I get to know you
What?
first?
I don't
Me
even
and my girl trying to have a threesome. Goodbye.
right, right.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, and it's like, I think that, and this again, this is Khea.
Mhm.
I believe, like, I'm in a relationship, right?
Mhm.
And then I meet somebody that I vibe with. I'm gonna let that person know I have another partner, and I
Mhm.
want you to know that before you get involved with me,
Mhm.
so you can make a decision if
Mhm.
you want to get yourself. And if you're not with that, that's cool too,
Yeah.
because it's not for everybody.
Right,
You
right.
understand?
Yeah.
And then you just let those relationships develop organically into what it's gonna be.
Got it. Yeah.
Can't force it. Can't force it.
So do you find that the poly lifestyle gives you more, I guess, freedom as opposed to feeling like you have to be just connected to one person? Like, does it just give you a sense of freedom?
I am. I'm really glad you asked that.
Hmm.
And here's why. A lot of times they say, I don't know how you do that. I couldn't share no man. Like, she
Yeah.
must be stupid. And y'all sharing that man, he get the benefit, he reaped all the benefits of having two girlfriends. And I always say, have you ever considered that this works for me?
Right.
That
Yeah.
this type of relationship structure is what works for me, because I have a son who plays basketball on his way to college. I
Mhm.
also have a 2-year-old. I have all kinds of volunteer activities, stand up comic. Just I have my hands in so many different places.
Right.
So the fullness of the responsibility of a relationship, I can't really handle that right now.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
So if I had another partner
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm,
can shoulder some of that relationship responsibility,
yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
That works for me because then I don't have to be all things to that person all the time.
Right.
That works for, and it does free me
Mm-hmm.
to do other things. You understand what I'm saying?
I
Now to flip
understand.
it, if I had multiple partners again, because I currently have two partners.
Okay.
Um, I'm technically single, but I have two partners
Mm-hmm.
and two male partners. They
Okay.
know, you know, they know
Mm-hmm.
of each other, what have you. But
Mm-hmm.
we're safe, we're sane, we're consensual, all of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that works for me because I have the companionship, but I can still move and do what I need to do for my family. Does that
Got it.
make sense?
It makes
I have
sense.
the support, I have the companionship,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have the romantic relationship,
Right. Right.
but I
Fact.
can also be free
Uh-huh.
and unhinged to do and be what I need to for my family.
Got
Does that
it.
make sense?
It makes sense. I understand.
Okay.
And
All
that's
right.
why I asked that because it just seems like it would provide a level of freedom that you may not get in a monogamous relationship. And you hear people talk about it all the time. Like, women get married and they get into these committed relationships and then they want to change things up. Or it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you were having sex beforehand and then you get married or you get in this committed relationship and then it's like, oh well, I don't have to do those things anymore, and then the man is like, well, what, so
Well,
then
what happened? How
yeah,
you get in this? How you got to keep them?
right, and then he starts lurking and looking, and not to say that that's justified, but
Right.
it just is. And
It's
so
a factor.
it's a factor, yeah. And so it just
Hmm.
made me think, if it were a different type of dynamic, then will that allow for a little bit more freedom?
Hmm.
Mm,
And I think that just really comes down to conversation, open and honest, communication with your partner.
yeah,
Because, and again, I have to say this: polyamory is not a band aid for infidelity.
right,
You
right.
understand? And
Hmm.
a lot of times, people try to fix their broken relationships with multiple partners.
Got it.
If I bring this third person in here, no, you just bringing somebody else into your mess. So now y'all broke and you're going to break this person too. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
That makes sense because I think that people feel like, okay, if I bring in another person, then this will satisfy my desires and then I'll be
Yeah.
good. But what I hear you saying is there's still a certain level of communication foundation that needs
Yes.
to be established in order
Yes.
for this dynamic to work.
And responsibility. It's no different with folks who swing. That's
Yeah.
another conversation for another day, sir.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
but with folks who swing, if you have an adulterous partner and you decide, well, let's try swinging because that don't solve the problem, or I'm gonna give my man threesomes. Now that don't solve the problem because he
Mm,
got an ethical issue.
yeah.
See, he got an ethical issue.
Got
So
it.
he gonna no, because just because you're with it is not gonna solve his ethical issues.
Got
You
it.
see,
Yeah.
if you're not ethical,
Mhm.
I can't do nothing with you.
I can't
You're
like
not gonna
like you said.
suddenly. I can't like
I
it.
can't like it.
He's not gonna suddenly become a stand up dude
Hmm.
because you done laid down some bound. And I also, let me say this. I have to say this.
Hmm.
Polyamory doesn't remove boundaries. Does that make sense? The
Mm,
same boundaries that exist in your monogamous relationship also should exist in your polyamorous relationship.
got it.
So you have to add, there's so many misconceptions about what polyamory really is, including for myself. Because I
Right,
was
right.
like, I'm sorry, can you see what you want, please? So I'm sorry. They're
Uh,
my children. See my children.
right.
I won't leave. If it was another girlfriend here, she could be with the children.
Right.
No. And I done lost my whole train of thought. See? Next question, Siobhan. I done lost my whole train of thought.
You said you had a misconception about what it
Oh,
was.
yeah, when I first discovered polyamory, I was like, no, next. No.
Yeah.
But then as I grew and I got more informed and I started connecting with people who do this real time,
Hmm.
and for years I was like, I think I'm polyamorous.
Right,
I
right.
think I've always been polyamorous to some degree,
Hmm.
except I was doing it unethically. You understand?
Yeah.
So,
I
and
was
I'm like,
wondering about that. Like, do you know, is it something that's already there and, you get around like-minded people and then it comes out of you, you start to, the light shines.
I was going to say, for me, it was like a light bulb came on, like, oh, because at first I was like, no, no, thank you, boo,
Right.
next, not interested,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of how I felt about it at first. And then again, the more I was around and more talking about it, learning and becoming more informed, I
Hmm.
had a better understanding of what it is and what it isn't,
Got
what
it.
it really looks like and what it doesn't.
Hmm.
And then I became more open to it. And then I experienced it and it was just like, oh, okay. So I
Yeah.
think for each individual, some people they know because you
Hmm.
have people that grew up in polyamorous households, and
Yeah.
then so for some people they come about it, they come to the discovery on their own. I think it's different for everybody, but for me it was just like, oh,
You said me what? What? Can I be
this might work for me.
Emma? Right, right. So what would you
Yeah.
say are the pros and cons of living a polyamorous lifestyle?
Ooh, okay. Again, this is Kia's answer.
Okay.
More water in there. I'm sorry, can you put some more water in there? Thank you. Pros and cons.
Uh-huh.
For me, the pros are having support from multiple partners, whether they're my romantic partners or his romantic partners, having that support and that camaraderie between them.
Mhm.
Um, the level of communication that takes place with your partners, because you have to do that work. That's a pro. I think if you're not a good communicator, you have to learn to be a good communicator, because
Mm,
you got to be able to communicate to your partner. This works for me and this doesn't. You
yeah.
understand?
Mhm.
That's a pro for me. The freedom to not have to be on all the time for
Mhm.
my partner, or
Mhm.
my partner not feeling like they have to be on for me all the time. That's
Yeah.
a pro.
Mhm.
Um, and that's just where I am now. I can't speak if I had a nesting partner or if it grew, whatever. Some of the cons is I'm human, so
Mhm.
jealousy does happen. You do get jealous, you do get envious, but that's my thing. That's an individual thing. And
Mhm.
for me personally, it never lasts long. It's usually just me being crazy. It's just me being a little, because at the same time, and here's what's crazy. There's a term we use called compersion, and that's the feeling that you of joy you
Mhm.
get from seeing the happiness in your partner. So
Mhm.
this person makes me happy. Now I'm happy. I mean, excuse me, if that person makes my partner happy, that makes me happy. That's what
Okay.
compersion is. So even though I may feel a little
Right.
jealousy,
Mhm.
a little, just a
Yeah.
smidgy, because I am human.
Okay.
Um, Above that is the feelings of compersion for my partner.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
have a question from Miss Leslie. She said, "You have multiple partners, but do they outside of you?"
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're not in. So, that's why I said I preface that with I'm single,
Okay.
ready to mingle. Okay. It's, it's stepdaddy season. I Because technically I'm single, so they are free to do what they want with who they want.
Mhm.
But the conversation again is protect yourself by also protecting me. You understand?
Yeah.
And y'all, we all adults, y'all know what that means.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Mhm.
choose wisely, because I'm not going to put you in harm's way, and I expect you not to put me in harm's way.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have other partners as well, because we're not locked down to each other. Does
Gotcha.
that make sense? Because
Yep.
somebody, well, ain't that an open relationship? Listen, y'all doing too. I'm single.
Right. Like I said, I explain what it is. It's that.
Like, I
Yeah. Yeah.
educate y'all.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of answered this already, but like in a polyamorous relationship, does a person experience jealousy or insecurity when one partner is interacting with another?
Hmm.
Hmm.
And to elaborate on that, that's where you have to ask yourself, what am I feeling?
Mm,
We talk about this all the time. You got
yeah.
to check in with your feeling. What is that?
What is that? Yeah.
What is that? What's causing that? Why am I feeling this way? You got
Mm,
to check with yourself first,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And once you do that self inventory, then you check with your partner. Like, is he okay? I know I'm not tripping now, but it's jealousy is such a human thing. But when that jealousy really starts to pour over into, petty behavior,
Mhm.
toxic behavior, and things like that,
Mhm.
there's some work that needs to happen there, because you have some insecurities that, especially if your partner is doing what they're supposed, they're open and honest, they're
Mhm.
communicating, they're attending to your needs, but again, you got to check the root of that. Where it's coming, is it my own insecurities,
Mhm.
or is something happening here that's really causing me to feel how I feel? And
Wow.
once you do that self inventory, then you know how to approach it a little better. But it happens
Yeah.
even to the longest of existing poly relationships. You can have a nesting partner that's secure in their position in that man's life
Mhm.
or woman's life, and a nesting partner is the person you live with, like,
Okay.
like a nester.
Yeah. Got it.
That's the person you live with.
Okay.
So they could be secure and happy in their relationship, and all of a sudden they get, and that he could be doing everything right
Mhm.
in terms of with his nest, but then he acquires a new partner. He has to
Mhm.
give a little bit more time and attention to that new partner because they're a new partner,
Right.
and now you feel in some type of way. But you got to
Yeah.
get to, and it's just natural. And people try to act like they don't feel that way. Nah,
Yeah.
I feel how you feel, but you
Yeah.
got to talk about it and make sure it's coming from a healthy place.
So what this makes me think about is, and I'm going to get to Talik's question in a second, but what it makes me think about is it's still a relationship dynamic that you have to manage. So whether
Yes,
you're in a monogamous relationship or in a polyamorous relationship, it's still that, okay, that self-evaluation. Let me see how I'm feeling. Let me check in with myself. Let me see what's going on, and just see what I am feeling. And it's not because
yes,
you're in a polyamorous situation, because this can happen in monogamy as well. So
yes,
it's like,
ma'am.
it's still, taking care of self and evaluating self to see where you are, as opposed to blaming it. Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm jealous because it's polyamorous relationship. No, no, it's something
Yeah,
going on with me, and I just need to check in.
exactly,
Got it.
exactly, precisely.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
All
What's
right.
Talisa?
So Malik says, is there a specific strategy or method you use to go about establishing boundaries and maybe lines of communication with multiple partners?
So that's a good question. I'm so glad you asked that, Talik. And here's why that's a good question, because I see this all the time. And I've actually said this to friends of mine that are trying to, what I see happen a lot of times is you have single women in the community that's like, I don't want to get with an existing partner,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the existing partner is like, well, why you? Well, you can't expect to have the same privileges as my wife or the person I've been with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about that. But what happens is these existing couples, they sit down with each other,
Mm-hmm.
they establish what the relationship is going to look like. They establish the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
They establish the rules of engagement, what it's going to be, what it's going to not for each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? You follow me?
Yep.
And then you meet a third person, whether they're male or female, and bring them into your relationship and you say, here's the rules.
Mm. Oh,
And
so they have to abide by
you
their
expect this person that's supposed to be a partner,
uh-huh.
not a toy, not
Uh-huh.
a plaything, not a sex partner.
Mm-hmm.
This person that's supposed to be in a relationship with you, you expect them to come in and follow, but that person has boundaries too.
Right,
That
right.
person has needs and wants too. That
Mm-hmm.
person has a criteria too. That person has a vision for what their relationship looks like too. So
Right.
if this couple has already established this is what it is, you
Mm-hmm.
leave no room for the third person to negotiate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So in terms of so to answer your question, Talik, in terms of setting boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
you have to first establish, do we collectively, because I'm not doing it for you and you're not doing it for me. What do we need? What does this relationship need?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need individually? What do we each individually need? And from there is where you start to talk about how a third person fits into that situation. Does
Got it.
that make sense?
Yeah, it
So
does.
then if you establish just some foundational stuff,
Mm-hmm.
by the time you start and doing some self work on together as a couple and individually, child,
Right, right.
and then as you start to meet people organically, then as a couple, y'all can start to decide what your 3-person couple boundaries are going to be, what
Mm-hmm.
the relation, your goals, all of that good stuff. Because you can't do it without the partner and
Yeah.
then expect that person to come in and just get with the program. So for single women like me who
Yeah.
may be looking to join
Mm-hmm.
a already existing couple,
Mm-hmm.
you sit me down at the coffee table at Starbucks and say, here's the rules. Get down or lay down.
No, because that's not how. Okay, okay, I'm understanding it, and I'm gonna get to this question in a minute. So,
Mhm.
if there is an established couple, do they have to be in agreement? So it sounds like they have to be in agreement about bringing another person in before it happens, or can it be something where they hadn't talked about it yet, but then one partner just mingling or whatever, and in a social gathering, and then they vibe with somebody, and then it's like,
Right.
I think you would be nice, for us. So
Yeah.
do they bring the person, or how does that work?
So, and that again, that might look different for different couples. So if
Okay.
we're talking about an already established couple,
Uh-huh.
and then this couple decides, I think that what this relationship needs is a third party, right?
Right, yeah.
You definitely have to mutually it can't just be one person decides this is what it's going to be. Now,
Okay.
what happens oftentimes, and people act like this isn't a thing. When I
Mhm.
first came into polymono, which is polymonogamous,
Okay.
is kind of where I sat, where I lived, right?
Okay.
Because
Uh-huh.
that's what worked for me. And what that is my partner is poly, but I'm not. But I'm also okay with my partner being poly.
Okay. Got
So I'm monogamous
it.
with him,
Mm-hmm.
but he has another partner or two, and I'm okay with that. Does
Okay.
that make sense? That's
Yes.
what poly. So in that regards, I need to be okay with it,
Mhm.
But there just still has to be some conversation happen. You know what I mean? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it makes
Okay.
sense. And so this kind of brings me to Alicia's question. So she says, what happens when one partner, so let's say in this you said
Polymono. Hmm.
polymono relationship, what happens because you weren't poly at the time? What happens when you no longer want to be in that dynamic?
Then I have to separate myself.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because I agreed to this, right?
Yeah.
And it now no longer works for me. So I have
Mhm.
to separate. I can't force him to stop what we agreed that was okay.
Right, right.
Now we can have some conversation if he chooses to, but I'm not finna issue no ultimatum and say them or me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
What it was. You knew
I
what you
knew what it was.
were coming into.
Now, for me specifically, when I involved myself in a polymono relationship,
Hmm.
this was some years back. When
Hmm.
I decided that this no longer served me, I left. And then
Yeah.
I had a baby and some other stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I went on to have two other relationships and a baby.
yeah, yeah.
But
That's
I decided that it didn't work for me, and I left the relationship. And we remain friends. We remain in contact. But now let's say, and again, this is Khea. These aren't the rules of engagement. This is Khea. If
uh-huh.
I was in an existing relationship, and then me and my partner decided, you know what this relationship needs? A third wheel,
Right.
right? I feel like if I no longer want this, no longer works for me.
Hmm.
I think that my partner should consider that because we were an already existing couple. Does
God.
that make sense? Who
Yes.
then decided to do something new, especially if this was a three-way relationship versus a parallel relationship where my relationship was separate from her. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But again, to each his own, because I know people, once the one partner decided that it don't work for them no more,
Hmm.
there goes the third person off
Yeah.
into the wind, released her into her destiny, child.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and I don't like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Mm,
got a lot of questions going in my head,
I
right?
know.
So, it's just interesting because I've never had anybody to break it down like this. And like I said, we're having grown folk conversation. So if you have questions, if you have been intrigued by this, not to say that this is what you desire to do, or even if it is, what's something that you would want to know about this lifestyle that you've always just questioned.
Right.
So one of the things that you said was when you left that relationship and then you went off and had children. How does it work? Like if you are in a polyamorous relationship, like is it a point where multiple children are created? In that
Mhm.
dynamic.
There are couples that the one partner has children outside of the poly couple or they have children together.
Mhm.
It's always funny to me when people, what about their babies? What about the kids? And it's like,
Right.
do y'all? It's like, do y'all think we just sitting around the kitchen kissing and naked all on each other?
That's what people think. They think it's all
They
about
do.
sex, and it's not, right?
And really, it's really not. Like,
Okay.
it's literally a regular relationship.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
is 3 or 4, however many adults
Uh-huh.
having healthy relationships. So what the kids see
Hmm.
is 4 adult family members.
Got
They
it.
don't see threesomes and foursomes and gay
Okay.
sex and lesbian sex. They don't see
Yeah.
that.
They don't see it.
You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
what they see is 4 healthy adults. And I said, I don't see anything wrong with the child having 4 people supporting them at their game.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, 2 daddies or 2 mommies showing up to school events.
Yeah.
Okay, mommy can't be here, but my whatever they decide to call it, they're here. So
Right.
so now instead of having one parent, 'cause like me, I'm a single parent. So now instead of having that one parent that's
Hmm.
there to support, love, and guide your kids, you got 3 or 4.
Right.
I,
Right.
I I've never heard a child being harmed by too much love,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
too much support. That's
This is
goofy.
right. And this is bringing, because Alicia says she used to think that too, that it was a big orgy session, all people doing just having sex out, and it's like, it sounds like it's so much deeper than that. And so
It is.
Leslie says
It
social
really
media
is.
has painted an ugly picture of it.
Leslie, it has. That's
Hmm.
absolutely, and so it's gotten so bad that every now and again somebody will say something completely egregious in one of these groups, and
Yeah.
I have to comment on it like, that's not true. That's not what it is. Like,
Mhm.
I have to, but more often than not, like, I stay out of the conversation because people are committed to being misinformed.
Right. Right. Hmm.
They are committed to being misinformed, and you got to let them. And
Yeah.
because I don't crap on your monogamy, don't crap on my polyamory, because I
Exactly.
believe there is a place for both in society. One
Right.
doesn't negate the other. You
Hmm.
understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's terrible to some of the things people say, and you just have to kind of bow out of the conversation.
Exactly, exactly. Because I'm sure it can get just draining when people are just trying to just say certain things that are not true. So, Alicia,
Exactly.
do you explain to the kids about the relationship?
Absolutely. I know people. I'm friends with people that grew up in polyamorous households.
Hmm.
Um, but absolutely, I don't know why people think children are. I was going to say a word that I try not to say anymore. People think children are so complicated and you have to break things down. Children are actually very intelligent. They're
Hmm.
very smart and they're understanding. I always say that children are they're human beings in the most absolute purest form. They are
Yeah.
so untainted in their beliefs and what they think, blah, blah. So if you take the time, and this is also why I don't believe in waiting 2, 3 years before you introduce your partner to your kids. What if
Mhm.
they don't like each other? God, you don't.
Yeah. I
But
understand.
it's no different. You
When you
sit
sit
down and have a conversation with your kids like you do with anything else
down,
because
right.
they're smart. Well, so I don't know about some of y'all kids. I can't.
He said, I can only speak for my child. Yeah, but I don't know.
I
Some of y'all.
can't. But kids are very intelligent. Kids
Yeah.
understand.
Hmm.
If you use terms and conversational tools that make sense to them,
Hmm.
most times they can be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. But
One, they don't really care.
hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
people act like having these conversations with their kids are going to be so damaging, and it's not.
Yeah,
It's
and that's what
not.
I was gonna say. It's a lot of fear. It's fear based, So people, I don't want to expose them. I don't want to share with them this kind of stuff. But it's just having enlightening, real conversations, because this is the world that
Absolutely.
we live in, And so, yeah. So Simone
Absolutely.
says monogamy isn't all glitz and glam either. Every situation
Talk
has
about it.
cons to them. Yep.
Talk
Come on,
about it.
come on, Simone. I'm trying to tell you.
Okay. And that's the truth.
Mhm.
And people who feel that way, about the kids, they try to if this person, and this, I'm not talking about a partner that I'm trying out. We're just trying to see what happens.
Mhm.
Once you've decided that this is, we're going to be in a committed relationship, this is what we're doing, and
Mhm.
you start to build on that, you can't have someone around or your kids on a regular basis and then not explain to them who this person is
Yeah.
or that person's role. But
Mhm.
again, this all goes back to your initial foundational conversations. What
Mhm.
are our goals? What's the vision for this relationship? Where is this going? What is this going to look like? Are they going to live with us? Are we going to have separate homes? You have to have those conversations. You understand?
Yeah.
Because all of those worlds and all of those pieces have to fit in
Mhm.
order for your polydynamic, whatever it looks like, to make sense and to work.
Okay, gotcha. And
Scratch his head.
Talik says kids are smarter than they're given credit for. Absolutely.
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 Hmm.
So let's talk about, okay, so when I think about breakups, right? Let's say, like Alicia said, what if one person decides that this no longer works for him or her? When I think about a poly lifestyle, I think about, you're establishing connections. If you choose that dynamic where you're
Hmm.
intermingling and establishing a connection with more than one partner in
Right.
the unit. How are breakups? Because it's not like you're just breaking up with one person. It's like you're breaking up with the whole unit. So is that like even more
Yeah.
devastating?
I've never experienced that personally. The last time I was in a poly relationship and that person, I was glad to see her go.
Okay. Good riddance, boo. Go on, go on, because you're getting on my nerves, right?
Okay. Don't let the doorknob hit you.
Right.
Okay. Uh, but I have a friend of mine who, when that happened, it's no different than your normal. It's hurtful. It's
Okay.
devastating. You need to take time to heal. You have that, but she was hurt when their partner, they had to break up for whatever reason. I don't know the ins and outs, but she was hurt. She
Mhm.
had to process that because she had grown and developed a relationship with that person. So that's
Right.
and this is also why I say you can't have these microwave relationships with
Yeah.
people,
Mm-hmm.
these relationships where it's here today, gone tomorrow, because now it's not just you and me that's affected. It's
Right.
you, me, our kids. And it's no different than a monogamous relationship. All parties are hurt. All parties
Yeah.
have to heal. All parties have to do that self-evaluation and that self-work that, when you finish a project or something at work and
Mm-hmm.
you sit and you talk about what worked and what didn't,
Right.
it's no different. You got to have those conversations when a relationship dissolves.
Hmm. I think what
Mm.
I appreciate about a poly lifestyle is the intentionality. It sounds like, and the level of like there sounds like there is some depth that's required in order for this dynamic to work because it's not. It
Absolutely.
just seems like it's yeah. Okay.
Because if you think about, let's just go back to monogamy,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
If you think about the relationship you went in that didn't work, that were abusive, that
Uh-huh.
were toxic, and the work that you had to do in yourself to be whole again before you
Right.
entered into another relationship,
Yeah.
it's no different.
Mm,
That you had to be intentional about healing yourself. You
right.
had to be intentional about doing that self work so that you can be who you needed to be before you drag baggage into your next relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Being in a poly relationship is no different. And I'm of the opinion that you kind of add a little bit more salt to it and take it to another level, because now it's not just me and my one partner, there's
Yeah.
another partner. So
Yeah.
in addition to checking my own craziness, I
Mm-hmm.
also have to check my own insecurities and my hows and my whys. You
Right.
definitely have to be intentional. I see a lot of times people, they only focus on their sexual needs,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
entering into they don't care nothing about where their partner work, where they live, their
Mm-hmm.
familial backgrounds, their goals, their educational levels, their credit score. They don't care about none of those things.
Yeah.
Your debt to income ratio, they don't care about none of that. Are you bi?
Mm-hmm.
You like girls too? Are
Mm-hmm.
you freaky? Are
Yeah.
you kinky? What you
That's
look
all they
like?
want to know.
These are
Right.
the things, this is their criteria for finding third party partners. And I'm just like, no wonder you keep having microwavable relationships.
Mm-hmm.
No
Because
wonder why your partners are here today and gone tomorrow.
right.
You
Right.
sleeping with folk on the first night?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, no shame.
Right. But it's deeper. It just sounds like it's deeper than that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Malik
for
said,
sure.
are equal partners more common, or is it more common to see a I can't, you see what I'm saying? With a because it's hierarchical one
Yeah.
with a primary partner relationship and a secondary one.
So I subscribe to equal partnerships
Okay.
because I don't come second to nobody. You see,
Mhm. You said right. Hmm.
I mean that's just
It is what it is. Yeah. There is no
I'm
hierarchy.
not going to come second to nobody. I
Yeah.
could be your equal. We
Hmm.
could be on the same playing field, but kid don't come second. You understand me?
Okay.
You,
Yeah.
you understand? All right.
Right.
However, conversely, and thus,
Yes.
a lot of times you see the hierarchical relationships with married couples because it's I'm the wife, right?
Okay.
I've been here longer, so you don't get the same privileges and attention and et cetera, like I do because I'm the wife.
Got it. You
So
know,
if you just
that's how Hagar did. What's that Hagar? They got Sarah said, "Listen, do something with her because I don't want her around no more."
that's it. Do something with her. Get her up out
Yeah,
of here. That's what it
yeah,
is. I
uh-huh.
don't. I know. Again, I know couple and some folk that work for them because they may not want to be a nesting partner. They want to be able to do their own thing over here and still have that relate that may work for them. But as for me and my house,
Yeah.
that don't work for me. Okay.
Okay, got it. So
Mm-hmm.
questions are rolling in. So Talib says, can you have an equal partnership with different boundaries for each partner, though?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm,
That's a good question. So here again, that goes back to when a couple sits down and set the rules and foundation for the relationship without and again I'll use me. Your needs are not my needs.
uh-huh.
So there's a difference between equity and equality,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
So equity means we get the same, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas so I may not necessarily be equal to you because I don't want what you have
Yeah.
because my needs are different than what you have,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we can set boundaries, and your boundaries are what works for you, and then my boundaries are work for me. Then we have to have a set of overall boundaries that we
Mm-hmm.
mutually agree to.
Okay.
So I have to decide like this. These are the boundaries that work for me. Is this you got to sit down and have those conversations? Because again, I don't know what you've been through, Siobhan. I don't
Yeah.
know what your past looked like. So your boundaries may not look like mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to respect your boundaries the same way you have to respect mine. And
Got it.
he would have to honor my boundaries the same way he has to honor yours.
So Ramon is trying to figure this thing out. He's like, okay, so how does that work with three human beings relating the removal of the hierarchy, right?
Come on, Ramon. You
So
you going to say set.
he said, how if there's no hierarchy, how if it's the wife and another partner comes in, and like you said, she's been there longer, so there's a sense of just
So,
just she been
so
there longer. So I guess
now obviously she been so the relationship dynamics
uh-huh.
are going to be different.
Okay.
Obviously, because they know each other long, their nuances are going to be different.
Right.
So now with me, a third party coming in, you can't treat her above me because see, y'all relationship is solid, right?
Uh-huh.
Because
Yeah.
y'all been together longer. So
Right.
now your primary energy and focus has to be now in developing this new relationship. You
Mm,
understand? You
yeah.
can't put the development of this new relationship on the back burner to your already existing one that's already solid. That's assuming it's already solid, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not just him and the wife
Mm-hmm.
have to do their due diligence to putting in the work to solidifying this foundation for the new relationship. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So
Yeah.
you have to remove the hierarchy because
Okay.
I'm not your slave. I'm not your
Yeah.
toy. I'm not your concubine.
Got you. Okay. And that's
Yeah.
what you said non-sexual, but the relationship dynamic. So what you're saying
Yeah.
is if they bring another person in, it's almost like, okay, let's get her acclimated to we've already developed and established a relationship. So let's get him or her acclimated to who we are, and then we establish boundaries with her and or him and figure out how we're going to operate as a unit. Okay.
And see, for me and you finna hang out.
Uh-huh.
We finna have some conversations. We
Okay.
finna get to know each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now what happens, my relationship is I have a relationship with you,
Right.
and I'm talking non-sexual.
Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
have a relationship with you, and I also have a relationship with him.
Right.
So I have to get to know you and to build my relationship with you separately and together. And
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think a lot of couples do that.
Got it.
That's just me. Again, that's my. I don't see that, and I can in the Facebook groups. Alley, we that get. You know what I hate?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell us
I
what
hate joint Facebook pages. If you don't
Oh,
get,
yeah.
I hate this. I page. This I page.
Yeah,
You and
yeah.
him in a profile picture like this here.
You're right. Oh my gosh. Oh
I
my
hate it.
gosh. Yeah, yeah.
Don't
So
talk to me through no group page.
right. What who they gotta put who said it because you don't know which one
So,
which one is coming.
a lot of questions finna be different depending on who I'm
Right,
talking to.
right, right.
What
Oh
do
my
you mean?
God. So we got some more questions. So he said, Ramon said, I truly can't see unaware people walking into this in a healthy manner. The depth and work is real.
It is
You really have to have a sense of depth and awareness about yourself,
for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let me tell you what, Talik is not playing with today. He came prepared with the
Yes,
question.
he did.
He says, should partners in a three-way relationship have independent experiences with each other as a way to do their due diligence?
So I want to make sure I'm answering your question right. So you mean should each 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 relationship spend time alone? Is that what you're asking me? I just
So
want to make sure because
yeah,
if that's what you're asking me, then yes, absolutely.
okay,
Because again, I think that y'all should get to know each other separately and together,
okay.
especially for existing couples bringing in a new person.
Now let me ask you this. So let's say the two, you and I come into the fold, and then he said yes, that's what he was saying.
Okay.
So I come into the fold, right? You're already there, and then we develop a bond, non-sexual. Is it ever a time where we gang up on him when we both mad at him at the same time, like
So
this?
I'm sure it is. I've never experienced that, but I'm sure. So there was these two girls in the damn Facebook group. There was
Uh-huh.
two women I knew at one point. They were actually looking for a male partner because one was in a relationship, the other one joined, and then the two of them said, "You know what? We out." They
Oh.
remained together. The two women stayed together,
Uh-huh.
and they were then in search of a male partner willing to be in a relationship with the two of them. They had even moved in together and everything.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Because they
Okay.
said, "Sir,
You can
you
be
ain't it.
right.
I don't know what type of time you on.
We know it. You're outnumbered.
We
That
voted."
is so funny. So Jamie says, what if someone from the established relationship prefers the additional partner to them because whatever the relationship was missing is now being fulfilled by the partner? So yeah, that what she
I,
said.
for me, I think that goes back to your foundational stuff
Mhm.
because if that's the case, something was already missing in your relationship. There
Okay,
was already some underlying problems, some issues in your relationship, and then you added a third party to fix it,
got
and
it.
that never works.
Okay.
Now, conversely, however, and thus
Yes.
pe- people grow apart
Yeah.
for whatever reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have this third partner, but you realize you and I have grown apart. And I
Mm-hmm.
encourage people to do this. Wait until the new relationship energy wears off. You
Right. Yeah.
you cannot make the sit because a lot of times those feelings are rooted in new relationship energy.
Yeah.
Now your old tennis shoes over there, they not looking as good because you
Right.
got some new J's, right?
Yeah.
So now you about to throw them in the back of the closet, but then you remember these new J's is hurting your feet. They
Yeah.
just look good on the outside, and you longing for them old Nikes you just threw in the back of your closet.
Come on,
See?
that's a word right there. Wait
Okay.
until the new relationship energy. When that new car
Absolutely.
smell wears off, then you
Yeah.
can see what it really is.
I
Okay.
knew a person, I used to tell him, you're in love with the newness of a relationship. You're not in love with the person
Yeah.
because what happens is soon as the NRE wears off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you out cheating and creating that NRE with somebody else.
Right.
All of your relationships overlap with each other because you are chasing that NRE,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to allow the NRE to wear off for the
Mm-hmm.
relationship proverbial dust to settle before you start making decisions like that. But again, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to negate the fact that relationships change, people grow
They
and they
do.
grow apart.
They do.
People's needs change. So in that instance, you just got to have a conversation this and say
Mm-hmm.
this relationship no longer serves me
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
and then you separate yourself to go do whatever, release yourself into your destiny and
Yeah,
go figure out what you need to figure out. But I
exactly.
never think that people should get a new partner
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden your old partner start looking for you all of a sudden see deficiencies in your old partner. Because the problem is, this person just knew. All kids play with their new toys first. You
Right.
was just fine with your old toys until you got a new one in the house. Now
Yeah.
your new toy is all the one you play with. But as soon as you get bored with that, you back to your old toys.
To the old toy.
You
So it's
gotta
like
wait for that NRE.
you gotta manage your emotions, and it's almost like balancing the head and the heart, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be excited about the newness, but I understand, intellectually that this is new. This is how I usually respond to new. So let me make sure I'm managing my emotions,
hmm
effectively.
And it's no different than if someone who's feeling feelings of inadequacy or jealousy.
Right. Right.
That if the middle partner who's now leaning more towards the new and feeling some type of way towards the old, they
Yeah.
have to do that self inventory. What is that?
Right. Right.
What am I? What is that rooted in? What is that? What is that? What really is that?
What
And
is
really take inventory of that, because 9 times out of 10, you just running off some new relationship energy. You gonna
mm,
want that old thing back. Everybody like they old sweatpants. God.
yes, I love that terminology, new relationship energy, because that can
Hmm.
apply to not just polyamorous relationships, but monogamous or any other
Yes,
type of relationship.
yes.
You know?
New
So,
relationship energy is a thing.
yeah, yeah, I
Most
love
folks like to call it the honeymoon phase.
the honeymoon phase. Yep, I like new
Hmm.
relationship energy better.
Yeah. Hmm.
I cannot believe we are at the end of this conversation. Man, this was so good
Already.
already.
Good.
Man, we got to have you back on again, kid, because it's
I
man,
mean, if we want to go for number 5, we can go for number 5.
number five.
Yeah.
But this was so enlightening, and I appreciate all of the questions and the comments, because I think
Yeah.
that helped to pose more questions and just to bring about understanding. Like I said at the top of this conversation, we're not trying to promote it or whatever. We just want
Absolutely.
you to be enlightened and just aware of what's happening in the world, and
Yeah,
just show
absolutely.
respect for each other's relationship choices, whatever they choose, right? And
Absolutely.
I just, me personally, I just wanted to know. I was curious about how it works, so it was beautiful
Y-
that you were able to
Yeah.
explain it.
And I say this, I'm always willing to engage. And this is with most things. I always can tell if a person is entering into a conversation with me to be
Yeah,
judgmental,
yeah,
because they've already decided what they think about it. And
right.
they're entering into a conversation with you to be judgmental. And so
Hmm.
then I'm not going to engage, because I don't have to explain
Exactly.
things to you.
Yep.
But sometimes people genuinely just want to understand, even if it's not for them.
Yeah.
They
Right.
just want to understand. I'm always open to have those conversations, because the
Yeah.
reality is I was in a monogamous relationship from 2016 to 2019.
Yep.
From
Yep.
2016 to 2019, I was
Yep.
in a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is room for both. I'm not putting one above the other.
Hmm.
You just have to decide for yourself what works for you. Right now, this is what works for Khea.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. Just I love relationship conversations. So
Yeah,
that means all types of conversations regarding
absolutely.
relationships, all types of dynamics. So I just appreciate you for taking the time to come on, and thank y'all for tuning in and engaging us. And so tell the people where they can follow you if they want to stay connected to you.
Listen,
She
I can currently
everywhere.
be seen. You can find me on Facebook. My page is public. My spelling is right there in the corner of your screen, Miss Khea Forte on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at plus size Barbie 04. No I in size.
Mhm.
Plus size Barbie 04.
Yeah.
That's where
All
you can find
right.
me.
Yeah, so stay connected with her and ask questions if you want to, ask more questions about the poly lifestyle. Feel free. I'm sure she'll be open to you.
You listen, let's talk about it.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Have some grown folks conversation. This is what we need
Yeah.
in our community these days. So
And y'all have some really good questions. I appreciate your participation.
yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. So until next time. Oh, so next week we have the Homeboys coming back from Homeboys Conversation Podcast. So they have
Oh,
their show on Thursdays. So it's four good brothers who have their show on Thursdays, and they review different movies. So check them out tomorrow. They're going to be reviewing King Kong versus Godzilla. But they will be joining us again for part 2 of the conversation, and we're going to
ask
be
them, do they
talking.
like fat girls, Siobhan?
So
When they get on
Homeboys,
there, ask them, do they like fat girls?
right? Do y'all like fat girls? She want to know. So I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna ask them next week, so they can tell us. Um, but tune in next week. We're gonna be talking about more relationship questions that women want to know, and we're gonna ask men these questions. So tune in 8 o'clock next week. Until then, good night.
Hi.